last time we were discussing the message Sacha Sahib Gurmukh Japa Pure Guru Ka Shabad Sinjhapa Jin Piya Sohi Tripata Se Sache Sach Aghamanaya. Sacha Sahib, the real creator. Sahib word is used in the mystical literature, in the spiritual literature, only for the ultimate creative energy. And the message in this statement is, those who are listening, understanding, and following the word coming from the Master, Sacha Sahib Gurmukh Jape. Gurmukh is the word, the term used for the one who has been there, one who has done it all. And so long as this entity is still in the physical form, that entity can become the guidepost, the lighthouse for others. In reality, that is their only remaining purpose to stay on the planet Earth. They can leave this planet at will. They have already attained that level. Buddha lived 40 years after the enlightenment. He didn't go to his home and live there or enjoy all the royal benefits. No, he traveled throughout the country and he spoke to anyone who would listen. So the objective was, this message should be spread. The first master in Sikhism, whose name was Guru Nanak Dev, lived on the planet after enlightenment for 33 years. And he traveled in all parts of the country and abroad. He went to Baghdad, he went to Makkah, Medina, and he met all of the mystics and exchanged the views with them. That is a Gurmukh. The one who has done it all, been there, and he can become the guidepost, the lighthouse. For what? Sacha Sahib. To find the way to get to the Sacha Sahib, the ultimate creator. How do you get there? Gurmukh Jape. You listen, absorb, and follow what comes out of the mouth of the one who's been there, done all that. How would you know? If what you are hearing is the true message. How would you know if there is any selfish interest of the messenger? Test of that is पूरे गुर के शब्द संजापे. Sanjape means to recognize, to identify. A true master will only talk about the ultimate creator and will give you all the guidance only to get to him, nothing else. Anyone who's not doing that for you is not a true master. I'll leave it up to you. You can go back in the entire eons of history and look at all of the major messengers that came onto this planet. Did they only stay with the message to get to him? Now, from my self-understanding, I am willing to accept the concept that they did stay, but their followers, by misinterpreting their message, gave them a bad name. Jesus may not have said, I am the way. But his followers kept on repeating, thou shalt have to accept him and only him. He is the only Savior. He may not have put that claim. But the bottom line is, the organized religion today is not interested in helping the masses at large to get directly in contact with him. None of them. No exception to the rule. They are not interested. Why not? Because they lose the membership. They lose the number advantage that they have today. Imagine if 1.5 billion of Muslims immediately say, we are directly in touch with Allah and we don't care what Muhammad said. Imagine what will happen. The entire clergy will turn upside down. If all the Jews say, we don't care what Moses said, we are in touch with the one and only one. The entire Jewish diaspora will go topsy-turvy. But the reality does not change, because few of the numbers present on this planet say, we will only go through him. Muslims want to go through Muhammad, Christians want to go through the Christ, and the Jews want to go through the Moses. Hindu wants to go through Krishna and Rama. Bodhi wants to go through the Buddha. They don't want to go directly. Why? Because they have been programmed. If you go directly, you are going to fail. And it sounds very logical. Yes, we need to go through someone. But if you pause for a moment and say, now, the one who's telling me, you go through me, how did he get there? Think about If I cannot get to Allah except through Muhammad, how did Muhammad get to him? And how did Jesus get to him? The theory falls apart. That actually proves if Moses could go directly, if Jesus could go directly, if Buddha could go directly, if Muhammad could go directly, you can go directly too. You need to have that courage, that confidence, that conviction, that love for the eternal. But we fail in a love equation, even in the physical form. How we are going to succeed in a love equation with the non-physical, the one we have never seen? That is our major difficulty. How do I love something that I've just heard and 40% of the world is saying it doesn't exist? If you listen to the atheists, they are saying 60% of the humanity is deluded. So how do you develop that confidence? That is actually the real test of your conviction. Your belief, your faith, your own reasoning power, your own understanding, your own attraction to something beyond the physical. Without giving it any label. It is a Sikh philosophy, Hindu philosophy, Christian philosophy, Muslim philosophy. It is none of them. It is a humanistic endeavor. A natural urge of the soul to become part of the super soul. It is the natural attraction of a drop of water to get back to the ocean from where it started the journey. I mean, you can visualize the journey of a drop of water. Whole of the ocean, air flowing over it, water evaporating, becoming a vapor, getting lighter than the air and keep on going up, and then due to the cold temperature in the atmosphere start freezing. It first becomes a cloud, and then within the cloud its temperature drops and it becomes a little drop of water. Now that moisture starts falling down through the air back. But something very interesting has happened. By the time this process was going on, the cloud moved from the surface of the ocean and came into the land. Now the water is not dropping back into the ocean. Some do and some don't. Now if that drop falls in a field and becomes the food for a plant, which becomes the food for an animal, which becomes the food for a human, the drop has traveled all the way from the ocean into the body of a human. Now, how can this drop get back to the ocean? It can't. It has to now start living the life of the human. Look at how the journey starts and how the journey goes on. Now that human eventually drops the body, and the body is burned or buried, and through the natural process of decaying, that water vapor starts going up again and start the journey all over. It has become a vapor now, it's going to get to the clouds and it's going to fall back again. And this time it might fall back into a gutter. See how many variations it can take? It can fall back on a stone, it can fall back in a river, it can fall back anywhere in the varied natural scenery. And it starts the journey. But eventually that drop will get back to the ocean, no matter how long that journey is. Which is us. That drop is me. That drop is you, every one of us. And there is a compelling urge to get back to the ocean. And you start looking for some help on the way. Who will help you? That was the message last week. The one who's been there, number one. Number two, that one who's only interested in putting you in touch with him. He doesn't need any glory, any thank you from you, no gratitude from you. That is your birthright to find your way back to your source. And someday every single one of us will get there. It may be in the form of an Armageddon, but we will get there. The preference is that we go there voluntarily rather than being taken away involuntarily. See, one is you go. The other is you are dragged along. It's not the same thing. You decide to go because that is your real home. This is your vacation spot. You need to get ready. Use this time to prepare. You can choose to just have fun because you are on a vacation, which is what most of us are doing. We are just having fun. We are having fun with our tongue, our ears, our eyes, our nose, our skin. These five senses are feeding us new things, not every day, but every moment. And we are having fun. Forgetting that we are here to do what? सच्चा साहिब गुरमुख जापे, पूरे गुरु के शब्द संझापे, जिन पिया सोई तृप्ता से. This is what we are here for. That jin piya means the one who really drinks it all away. This invisible nectar, this energy, these words that are right now bombarding your senses, they are inviting you. They are trying to uproot you from where you are solidly frozen and say, come along. Still there is a time for you to volunteer rather than be dragged. If you do that, jin piya soi tripta se, then you will, tripta se literally mean to be contented. Only then your soul will be contented that my job is done. I am on my way to my original home. Those who decide, agree, accept, and move on. The thing is, it is not a compulsory subject. Right? All of you are familiar with the college curriculum where some subjects are compulsory and others are elective and the others are completely optional. This is completely optional. This is not even elected, much less required. Compulsory you must do in this season. Elected you have to do before you get the degree. And the optional is, this will add something to your curriculum, but it's not necessary for you to do. This is completely optional. Even your guide, your guru, your master cannot compel you. Even if he wanted to, he couldn't do it. Think about it. Look at all the masters that you are familiar with, that we have been talking about here. None of them could directly pass on their energy to the next of the kin. None of them could. Think about it. Can you find any example in the entire consciousness history? No. This is the work you have to do on your own. You can share every other kind of energy and wealth with others. This is one energy you cannot share. You can only invite. You can only encourage. You can be only a cheerleader. Come on, come on. But the performance must be done by you. The cheerleader can only say, yeah, you're doing great. Keep on it. The master, the guru, the teacher, they are just cheerleaders. Which master? The one who says, forget about me. Focus on him. You don't need me now. You are directly in touch with the energy. The time has come. The human consciousness has evolved, matured enough that we do not need to tell them, you still need me. It might have been okay 4,000 years ago. It's not okay any longer. The human awareness is too mature for that. We must open this book and expose the message to everyone. Male, female, child, it does not matter. Those who accept it and start walking on the path, tis ghar sahjaa soi suhaylaa, anad binod karay sad kaylaa, so Dhanvantaa so saahaa, jo gur charnee man lavani-aa. Here are the mileposts when you start traveling on this path, when you start taking over this journey willingly, voluntarily. Are you on the right path? Is it the right thing? If that question comes to your mind, you can check within yourself. Don't ask anybody else. Check within yourself. What will you find? Tis ghar sahjaa soi suhaylaa. Sahaj, equipoise, some quietness, some peacefulness, that when the others ask you, how did you get it? You cannot explain it. What's happening? You're very quiet today. You're very peaceful today. Something going on? Something special happened? And all you can say, he's doing something I have no clue. That's the energy from the beyond. I take no credit for it. Why? Because honestly, it is not mine. I am not doing anything. I am not eating anything different. I am not sleeping anything different. I am not wearing anything different. is just coming in. Why it is coming in? Because I heard that message, I understood that message, and now I am in the process of implementing that message. And if the implementation is correct, a sudden inner peace will start evolving. You will start getting the glimpse of it. This ghar sahjaa soi suhaylaa. It's all beautiful now. Anand binod karay kaylaa. And you will start living a very peaceful but cheerful life. Without doing anything. Without bringing the intellect in. All of you have experienced on your vacations and you've gone to the scenery or you to the various gardens and wild places, and suddenly you turn around and say, oh, what a beautiful flower. Did you realize that you just lost the beauty by intellectualizing it? Had you just remained quiet, absorbed in the beauty, and just feel it, and don't put any words to it, you would yourself have become the flower. But no, we are too much trained to verbalize, to intellectualize. Tomorrow when you go for your morning walk, stand in front of a patch of flowers and absolutely say nothing. This is beautiful, this is ugly, this is soft, this is hot. Get these labels out of your mind. Just stand and absorb that energy within you. Keep your eyes open, mouth shut, and ears open. And receive the nature. Receive its aura. Receive its entire energy. Even if you are not hearing the sound, the nature is already singing the music through that patch of flower. You may not have developed those ears yet, which can listen to that music. But if you start verbalizing it and say, this guy is gone nuts, I'm only appreciating the beauty. You have to see the beauty before you can appreciate it. You have to absorb it. You have to let it all come in. If you start verbalizing before completely absorbing it, you lost the opportunity. Tell me, when a child is born, what does the mother do first? Does she hold the child at arm's length and say, let me first look at what kind of nose he has? Can you imagine a mother doing that? What is the mother's instinct? Let me feel you. Let me hug you. She hasn't seen the face, the nose, the ears, the fingers, nothing. She hasn't counted the toes yet. But what does she do? She feels. If you want to appreciate the beauty of anything, just learn to feel. Beauty of a flower. Beauty of a soft cloth. But the moment you open your mouth, there is a beautiful cloth somebody offered you, and you immediately say, how much did it cost you? The cloth is gone, the money is there. If you don't intellectualize, You can touch the cloth and experience that softness without trying to put a value to it. Isn't it? Can you see the distinction? This is what we are being talked about. This ghar sahjaa soi suhaylaa, anand binod karay kaylaa. Forever. Kaylaa means as the birds dance. Kalol. Kaylaa word is from kalol, which is when the birds start dancing. There's a beautiful metaphor that when the cloud comes and the fish looks at the cloud, she's happy. Why? Cloud has a possibility of water. Fish needs the water. But if the cloud didn't give any water, she'll go to the nearby pond and get water from there. Because her interest in clouds is only because of the water. Then we have another bird. That bird is called chatrik. I do not know the English translation of that word. This bird has a little hole here in her throat. So he puts his mouth down to drink the water flows through. The only way this bird can drink the water is to hold the mouth up and wait for the raindrop to fall directly. So when the cloud comes, chatrik is also happy. But look, the chatrik cannot go to the gutter or to the pond. The chatrik has to wait for the water to drop directly. That's the next level of being happy. But there's another bird who's happy by looking at the cloud, and that bird is called peacock. Peacock doesn't care whether it's going to rain, whether it's dry, whether it's lightning. He looks at the cloud and he starts dancing. What is his interest? He's just happy to look at it. Just happy to look at the cloud. In the physical form, that's called true love. That's love one level below the ultimate Creator's love. The love of a peacock with a cloud. Just happy to look at you, that's it. I don't need anything else from you. Even though you have everything to give me. But I'm not interested. I just want to look at you. In the physical form, human can reach this level for each other. They may not be able to reach the level where you can't even see the physical form and you still are in love. The one who starts walking on this path will automatically develop an inner peace. This ghar sahjaa soi suhaylaa, anand binod karay kaylaa, so Dhanvantaa, so saahaa, jo gur charnee lavani-aa. This is the true richness. So Dhanvantaa. Dhanvantaa literally means very rich. So this is the true richness, where the soul is getting the proper feed. It's getting the proper tender loving care. The human have focused their entire life energy in feeding the body and have completely forgotten to feed the soul. This is the true food for the soul. And that is the true richness of humanity. So Dhanvantaa, so vad saahaa, jo gur charnee man lavani-aa. The one who has accepted this, the message from the true master, gur, the true master, the pure master, who is not dragging you along behind him. Where are you going? You're supposed to follow me. And by the way, if you stop following me, I reserve the right to kill you. That cannot be sign of a true master. And that would not help you to get there. When you get the true master, he will put in direct touch with you. And then step back. And you follow your own path. You do your own effort. You invest your own time and energy at the speed, at the pace you want. पहले देता है ऋक samaahaa, पिछो देता है जंत upaahaa, तुDh jayvad daataa, avar na su-aamee, lavai na koi laavani-aa. Say, look at the creation, look at the design. Before anything was ever created on this earth, its sustenance was sent down to the earth first. If the plants were to be born, the water came first. If the child was to be born, milk came first. Child is not yet ready to. But the Creator is worried about your sustenance way ahead of you ever will worry about yourself. Isn't it? Look at the design. The whole bondage of the parent-child is for what purpose? Parents are ahead of the child, right? First, mother doesn't have to do anything. He is producing the milk through the mother. And as the child grows, what does he do? He bonds the parents with them. Now they are going to start working and feeding him because the milk is not enough. And that is true of the entire creation. The sustenance preceded the creation. Pehle deta rijak saahaa. The first rijak means the sustenance. The entire universe, birds, animals, plants, humans, doesn't matter. Every single creation has the sustenance ahead of the body being created. First you created that. Pehle deta rik samaahaa, pichho deta jant upaahaa. After that you created the body form, the jant, the one who breathes. Just by looking at this simple design, what happens to the human mind? तुDh jayvad daataa, avar na su-aamee, lavai na koi laavani-aa. He said, now you can look around yourself and see, is there any other giver like him? Having done this, he did not put a label on it. This is what I gave it to you. He did not demand even thank you. As a matter of fact, he is sitting and listening to all our crazy imagination. You are not there. Everything can be created without you. I can prove it to you. And what kind of a God you are, you have created such a destruction around, so much sickness around, on and on and on and on. As if a human can create a better world. There was very recently a movie called Bees. If you watch that movie from a mystical perspective rather than a comedic perspective, because it was created as a comedy, one bee gets smart and says, the man is taking advantage of our honey and we are going to stop producing the honey. Okay, the bees go on strike. Remember that movie? Since the bees are not flying around, the cross-pollination of the plants and the flowers stop taking and the world start becoming a desert. And in the meantime, there is a black market of the honey going on and the crime rate goes up. And since the bees have nothing to do, they are just idling away and dying out of boredom. The entire ecological balance of the nature is disturbed. And we think we can create a better world. We cannot even design a good beehive for this purpose. So the message is here, look at this simple thing. Before you are born, he is worried about your sustenance. Not only the sustenance when you have the teeth, he was worried about your sustenance when you didn't have the teeth. We have a very beautiful proverb in Indian language. Dant nahi tab doodh diyo, ab dant diye kya ann na deva. Meaning thereby, when you didn't have the teeth, he gave you the milk. Today you have the teeth. Would he not provide the food? No. I better take care of myself. I have to earn that food. Yes, you have to earn that food. But your effort will be rewarded if he wills to be rewarded. Otherwise, you can make as much effort as you want and you can still go hungry. But we don't develop that faith, that confidence in the ultimate being. This statement is helping us develop that confidence. tuDh jayvad daataa, avar na su-aamee. There is no other one like you who can not just worry about a little ant or a little bird, but the entire creation. A flower who cannot walk to find seed for it to reproduce, you gave that job to the bees. Take this little seed and go implant it in that flower so that that flower can create another flower. जिस्तु tuthaa so tuDh Dhi-aa-ay, saaDh janaa ka mantra kamaa-ay, aap tare sagle kul tare, tis darge thak na paavni-aa. But remember, the last reminder, see, I have been repeating this every time you are asked to do something, which is have that faith, develop that, nurture that, an immediate reminder. Now, if you are developing that attachment, get your eye out of the way. It is His grace you are doing it, so that your ego doesn't start building. See, yes, look, I went there on Friday, I listened to this, now I'm going to do it. Guess what? You lost the game before you even started playing it. Hence a reminder. Immediate reminder, which is Jisnu tu tuthaa so Dhi-aa-ay. It is your grace if anyone is on your path. He's not doing anything, you are doing it. Credit goes to you, not to the human. Because you give the credit to the human, his ego is going to go bigger than the water balloon. So, reminder, be humble. Develop a humility when you are walking on the path of Rama, Allah, God, Muhammad, whosoever. Develop a humility. Become humble. Because if there is no humility, you would not see the difference of doing God's work or a completely animalistic act. If I choose to tell you this is the real message and I know it is the truth and I want you to accept my truth, and if you don't, then by definition you are a sinner. And then by definition, if I remove a sinner from the planet, then I am doing something holy. I am saving you the trouble of being a sinner, and I am making myself of a higher level soul. Where did this logic come from? Where did this argument evolved? How did it happen? This argument evolved because walking on the path of the creative energy, humility disappeared. And ego came and said, I am a very, very religious person. Look, I am doing a religious thing. Here is a completely infidel type of person. If I kill this person, am I not doing something good? Isn't this in the name of the Creator? Where did this come from? This distortion of logic is because humility wasn't enforced. Ego and arrogance were enforced. If you do this, you are a better person. You are a candidate for heaven. We are being given a reminder. Don't fall into that trap. Because walking on the path of spirituality would require that at the same time you start cultivating an inner humility. You start taking every credit away from you and give every credit to Him and say, you are the doer. I am just your instrument. I am just a puppet. You pull the string and I dance. Puppet cannot take the credit for dancing. Puppeteer has the credit. Never forget this principle. If you want to walk on the path of spirituality. Because the moment you claim any credit, you have stopped being a spiritual person. and ego and spirituality will not coexist in any form, in any shape, under any logic, under any argument. It will not coexist. So remember that message all the time. Jis tu tuthaa so Dhi-aa-ay. It is your grace that someone is sitting in your meditation. saaDh janaa ka mantra kamaa-ay. And what kind of meditation? The meditation that was given by the master in the pure sense of getting closer to him by getting the ego out. Aap tare sagle kultare tis dargah thak na paavne. And when you start walking on the path, there will be lot who will be influenced by you. That's why the people come to me and say, well, you know, I have this granddaughter and a grandson, and I want to make sure that they get the true message. Okay? Well, tell me, how should I train them? Well, like an idiot, I ask the next question, are you trained? And they get mad. What do you mean? I'm old now. My life is gone. I don't want my grandchildren to follow the same step. I said, I'm sorry, then they are going to follow the same step. Stop worrying about them. Start worrying about yourself. But by the time it will be too late, they'll be grown up. I am going to point out to you that a miracle is going to happen. The day you start working on yourself, your grandchildren will start copying you like a monkey copies. Their work will start automatically without you ever having to tell them, do this, call them and put them into any discipline. The moment they say, Grandma is sitting down, they'll come and they'll sit down with you and they'll start looking at your face and they'll start listening to your words and they'll start mimicking you. Without you doing any effort, their work will start right away. So don't call them, don't ask them to sit cross-legged, and don't start teaching them a word and feed them. They are not going to follow. But you sit down and start doing what you want them to do. That's how you perpetuate. That's how you spread the word, particularly in your own household, amongst your friends. Most of you know that we went to Indiana in December. We spent about 2 weeks there, 3 weeks. And on the telephone we were trying to send the message, it didn't register. Living with them 3 weeks and just doing that in their environment suddenly planted a seed. Just by copying. That's what is meant here. Aap tare. Self is improving. Sagle kultare. The surroundings are also improving. And slowly, slowly, this dargah thak na paavne. There is no more a blockage in walking into the door, walking into the house from where you originally belong. तू वड्डा तू ऊंचो ऊंचा तू बेअंत अत मूचो मूचा हम कुर्बानी तेरे वंजा नानक दास दसावनी-aa. The ultimate prayer. When you are in prayer, stop asking. Because when you start asking, he starts interpreting as if you are telling. You are not asking, you are telling. And what do we tell? What is our prayer? I want you to do this. Or, I want you to not to do this. Tell me, is there a third statement? I would be very interested in hearing your prayer to him. No matter which faith you belong to. In prayer, either we want something to be done because we like it or we want it, or we want something not to be done because we don't like it. What is the content of the prayer otherwise? Today we are being given the true prayer. And the prayer starts with tuDh. Vadda means greater than the greatest. Tum ucho ucha. Ucho ucha means higher than the highest. Tu beyond atam ucho mucha. Beyond means infinite. Ant means the end. Beyond means where you cannot find the end. How kurbani tere vanja nanak das dasaavani-aa. Please accept me as a master accepts his slave. Das. Look at the beauty of the word. You create any other relationship with him, the ego will be present. You create a relationship of a master and a slave, ego disappears. How can the slave have an ego? Whatever master says goes. But what if I create a relationship of a father and a son? Son grows up. Someday he stands in front of the father and says, I'm not your kid any longer. Treat me with respect. See the risk in creating a relation of a father and a son? Well, let's create the relationship of I love you, we are lovers. Can the love exist between something very high and something very low? To be a lover, you need to be at least equal. Is it not? Can we be equal to him? If not, how can we create a relationship of love? But I can certainly be a slave. And master can be greater than the greatest. And that relationship exists forever. A slave would never challenge a master. Hence, the prayer. How kurbani tere vanja nanak das. Das literally means slave. Dasaavani-aa. Dasaavani means to call, to name it. That's the only prayer. Accept me as your slave. And if I am a slave and living in the house of the master, do you think I need to ask anything from the master? If I am sick, master will know and take care of me. If I am hungry, master will know and he will feed me. If my clothes are torn off, the mother will say, he will take off his own shirt and say, don't wear this, take this one. See how a relationship of a slave and a master changes the entire equation of relationship. No, but we don't want to be slave. We want to be the master. We want to tell him. What kind of a master are you? There is a cancer in this country. In this world there is starvation. What kind of a master you are? There is avalanche going on, earthquakes going on, plague going on. What kind of a God are you? So you have become smarter than me now. Do you is currently publicizing a study that was commissioned very recently of the world-renowned scientists, and the subject given to them was how much population this planet can sustain. That's the study. The report has been published. I just read it last night. It's on the YouTube under that title. How much this earth can support. It is now sitting at little shy of 7 billion. And what is their main finding? That the science has gone totally on its own in upsetting the ratio of mortality and birth. And that's a very, very scary finding on their part. They have literally calculated country by country and the growth curve of the population over the last 50 years. And the single culprit for that is imbalance of death and birth ratio. When we were eliminating these so-called diseases and everything, we were not thinking of what it's going to do, because we didn't have the tools. Today they have the tools and they're thinking of all of that. And they are saying the catastrophe on humanity will not be because of anything else but food and water shortages. Water is going to become a commodity more expensive than the oil, and the countries will go to war for water. And they are looking at the areas where water today is extremely short, and they are monitoring the unrest in the minds of the population. And who are they blaming the most for that? And the prediction is someday that part of the population will rise and go to war. Whether that is real or not, if there is a perceived guilty party, the humanity will punish them. What this has to do with this message? The human has developed a complete insensitivity to everything else except the self-preservation for the immediate return. No long-term thinking. Not sociologically, economically, ecologically, doesn't matter how. And we are talking about think long-term about the spirituality. That is the purpose of reminding you. This short-term thinking, I am okay. What do you mean you are okay? Well, my religion tells me this and I am doing that, I am done. No, you are not done. Because oversight of the overall human purpose of life on this planet, if that is ignored, we all will pay the price together. Your fault, my fault, nobody's fault, nobody is going to wonder about that. Now is the time. This is the moment to do what? Hum qurbani tere vanja nanak das dasaavani-aa. Learn to become his slave. If you cannot be of anybody's slave. Today, the world is celebrating the Women's Day and they are declaring we are not going to be slave to the men any longer. In my entire life, I haven't met a slave woman yet. But they are saying we are slaves. That's their slogan. Whole day on the television, on the network, those who are, and they are showing the processions from various countries and women having these plaques and all that. We don't want to be slave to the men. Well, I have news for you. That's all in your head. You never were slaves. You are not slave. You cannot be made slaves. You are far too powerful. That power given to you by the ultimate creator. Learn to use it. Learn to recognize it. Learn to channel it. That's what is missing. Not that you are weak. You are not the weaker sex. Somebody has fed you the wrong information. Get this out of your head. The funny thing is, if you want to develop the muscles like a man, you can do that. If he wants to develop a uterus like you, he cannot. You are not a weaker. It's all in your mind. And you are not further away from him. This is all you are in your mind. And you are not a Christian, a Buddhist, a Hindu, a Muslim. You are a human. He did not give you this label at the time of birth. You took it. And you accepted it. And you started running with it. If nobody told you till now, hear it loud and clear. You can throw out all those labels and have one label. Just one label. I am a slave to him. You don't need any other label. Just become slave to him. Be accepted by that master. And that master will tell you what is holding you back. He will tell you, you have too many desires. You don't need them. He will tell you, you have too much of anger. You don't need it. Throw it out. He will tell you, you have too much of greed. You don't need it. Throw it out. He will tell you, you have too many attachments to these worldly things which are very, very short-lived. Throw these ties out. He will tell you, you need to tame your ego. Only then you can call yourself a slave. He will tell you. And you start listening to it and just accept that label. Throw all other labels out. I'm a man, I'm a woman, I am a child, I'm an Indian, I'm an American, I'm a Hindu, I'm a Sikh. Throw all of that. Because all those labels are only sustaining your ego. It is reinforcing the ego. Every time you say, I am a Christian, I am a woman, I am an Indian, every time you put that label on you, the ego gets a little bit, yes, you are right. Yes, you are. And you keep getting away from it, further from it, further from putting the label of slave to the ultimate creator. So that was a hymn on page 130, hymn number 35. We'll take a pause here. And if there are any comments or questions, the lines are still open.